So thank you, Dr. Haimanti, and I would like to thank AIS committee and all my co-speakers. So it's not moving. Okay. So we know that the word endophthalmitis can give us sleepless night. Nobody wants it. But unfortunately, if it happens, then how many of us are prepared for the same with the proper documentation? So let's learn how NABH guidelines help us preventing infection and safeguarding us by proper documentation in case of if infection happens. Now, who is responsible when infection happens? Is it the operating surgeon, OT nurse, CSST personnel, OT supporting staff, or your infection control nurse, or consumables like BSS, intracameral drugs, or it can be due to process failure like sterilization machine is not validated, indicators are not checked properly, or reuse policy, multi-dose vial policy are not defined and executed, or your entire infection control program, which would lay down all these policies. So there are 10 chapters in NABH, and 4 of them would cover guidelines regarding infection control, documentation, and quality assurance. So regarding prevention, let us learn how NABH guidelines help us in preventing infection. As per NABH guidelines, in our surgical record or patient record, couple of inputs are mandatory. The most important ones are pre-operative assessment by the operating surgeon, where you should mention about the negative history of MGD, sac block, uncontrolled diabetes, any systemic illness, and consent. We all know that consent is a legal document and should be filled completely and properly. Surgical safety checklist we'll discuss next. And IOL implants, the label carrying implant details should be pasted at 3 places. So one is OT logbook, inpatient record, and discharge summary. In post-operative care plan, we mention about the rational use of antibiotics, and in discharge summary, we have to mention about when and how to obtain urgent care in the language which patient understands. So regarding surgical safety checklist, this is an WHO initiative in order to increase safety of patients who are undergoing surgery. The checklist identifies 3 phases of an operation. One is sign-in, that is before the induction of anesthesia, time-out before the incision of skin, or in our case, corneal or scleral incision, and sign-out before patient leaves the operating room. Now we can modify this checklist as per our need. So some of the important points here, if you see in sign-in, patient's identity and site of surgery procedures are verified. We also need to confirm the consent form, whether it's filled properly or not. In timeout, the nursing team reviews about the sterility, which includes confirming about the sterilization indicators results. And here we also need to confirm that pre-operative antibiotic prophylaxis is given as per our protocol. This can be used for the confirmation of consumables and IOL power also. Say like before opening the vial or pack, we can read aloud the drug name and its expiry date. Coming to the operation theater, Dr. Haimanti has already discussed important points. Avoid mix of sterile and unsterile stuff. Regarding safe usage and sharing of consumables, for example, in case of BSS, how are we going to ensure about sterility in case of sharing? We need to prepare the SOP for the same. See, when BSS is shared in, say, 5 patients, the detail of the same, especially the batch number, should be mentioned in all 5 patients' medical record. OT surveillance. Here we need to ensure about the efficacy of OT cleaning and disinfection practices by taking OT cultures at regular scheduled interval, at least once a month as per NABH guidelines, and twice a month in case if there is a heavy OT load. Daily log of air handling unit should be maintained. We have to monitor humidity, temperature, and pressure differential in OT, and check for the integrity of the filter of HU as well as if you have AC, then for AC. Regarding CSST surveillance, see, we believe that sterilization is adequate when the color of indicator is changed. This color change just indicates that the process is executed. It doesn't say that machine has delivered adequate temperature or pressure for adequate amount of holding time. So to assess the efficacy of performance of the machine, validation of sterilizer is required. Now, how to do that? So as Dr. Hamanti said, Bovidic test can be used for autoclave machine before starting your first load, and biological indicators has to be used at least once in 15 days as per NABH guidelines. Coming to multi-dose vials, for example, antibiotics, then lignocaine or anti-VEGF, we share these vials in couple of portions. So while opening the vial, mention the date of opening and expiry, and we have to prepare SOP regarding safe storage of such vials once it is open. Now, infection control program, we need to design such program for our hospital, and which must include certain points. Say one is standard and universal precautions, which would include hand hygiene, safe injection practice, needle stick injury, PPE, sterilization, blood spillage. We also need to identify high-risk areas in our hospital. So which all are the high-risk areas? Like OT, CSST, and recovery room. So we then prepare cleaning and disinfection, sterilization protocol for these high-risk areas as well as for our entire hospital. Regarding again, coming to surveillance activity, how would you make sure about the efficacy of disinfection and sterilization? By taking regular culture of OT and validation of your sterilizers. Antibiotic policy, where you mention about rational use of antibiotics to prevent the resistance. HIC budget. So hospital management must have dedicated budget for hospital infection control program, which demonstrates management commitment towards the infection control practices. KPI or key performer indicators, which would guide you about monitoring infection control practices. For example, you can monitor adherence to hand hygiene by your staff. Now, repeated and scheduled training of your staff is required on infection control practices, and so that your staff would follow them, and your infection control nurse would supervise all these processes and would take care of training program. Your infection control team must have a microbiologist as a team member. This team would lay down all the policies, and your infection control committee should meet quarterly and review all the policies and any incidents if it has happened. Risk identification and risk management. We have to prepare risk reduction protocol. So what is that? That is to minimize the chances of risk of the infection. So what all things are included in this protocol? Like extra care taken while operating in case of HIV positive or uncontrolled diabetic patients, pre-operative antibiotic protocol, preparation of patient before surgery, care during surgery, post-operative care in regard to antibiotics, scheduled follow-up or early detection of infection, stringent OT etiquette for staff and doctors, disinfection protocol before, in between, and after surgery, and surveillance protocol for OT and CSST, KPIs, and your OT infrastructure as per NABH guidelines. So, reuse policy. Now, this is meant for some of the instruments or disposables which should be discarded after single use, like our phaco tip or sleeves, vitrectomy cutter. Now, we need to make SOPs when it is reused. Okay, so list out all the items which are reused, how many times can be used, and mark the item every time where after use. So each time when you use the item, you mark it. And do frequent quality check for any damage. So many records we need to maintain in OT. Now, in regard to infection, the most important ones are OT culture reports. So, and your sterilizer registers, which would include your indicators, your validation record for sterilizers, your consumables used during surgeries, OT master logbook with implant details, AHU maintenance record, and AHU logs, checklist for OT disinfections, and OT cleaning record, which would be including your daily, in between, and terminal cleaning record. Terminal means your weekly cleaning. Now, in case of infection, what to do, how to manage it? So in NABH, the term endophthalmitis is considered as a surgical site infection. So as per CDC guidelines, SSI or surgical site infection is the infection that occurs within 30 days after surgery if no implant is left, or within 1 year if implant is in place. So we know that what to do. We recall all the patients, instruments, consumables. After sealing the OT, we observe the other patients operated on the same day and operated with the instruments sterilized during the same autoclave load. Recheck sterilization indicators, which would help you in recalling process, and recheck all the consumables and inform the suppliers or vendors. Finally, OT disinfections, OT culture reports, validation of sterilization, sterilizers with biological indicator is also required. The entire process must be documented properly, and also make detailed note of investigation and treatment given to your patients. Now make sure that your consent is complete and duly filled. Now, this endophthalmitis should be reported as an incident as per NABH guidelines. So after reporting, we need to do root cause analysis also, so that we can prevent it happening in future. There are various methods to do RCA, and we'll discuss two of them. First one is 5 why method. When a problem occurs, you drill down to its root cause by asking why for 5 times. So say infection happened. Why it happened? Because protocol was not followed. Why the protocol was not followed? Because there was a lack of awareness. And finally, you come to the conclusion that there was a lack of communication. So now how to rectify this? By repeated training of all the staff and make them aware of importance of infection control practices. Fishbone analysis. This is another kind of analysis. Already Dr. Deepak had shown one slide. Here you can further break down the causes. So say no validation of autoclave happened that leads to breach in sterilization. Endogenic factors like patient didn't reveal any history of chronic disease, or physician fitness was not obtained. In contaminated solution, BSS bottle was not checked for visible dirt. Inefficient disinfections where the disinfection protocol is not being followed and dilution protocol is not standardized, or AHU failure. So now by doing RCA, we'll be able to find out the failures. After doing RCA, we are supposed to take CAPA. So what is that? Corrective action and preventive action. So what is the corrective action? Treatment given to the patient, recall process, surveillance activities, these all are known as corrective action. And what could be the preventive action? Like new policy on disinfection protocol. It can be replacing the consumable or changing the vendor. So this is your preventive action. Now you also need to give alert to your colleagues regarding faulty consumables. Document the entire process, which may help us during court case. Infection control committee has to review and approve the new policy, and staff should be trained about new protocols and policy. Again, the training review is needed to ensure that the staff is trained and understood properly. Thank you.